Hello, hello. I'm Wendy, as you probably know, and that's why you're here for day two of Alcohol Freedom. This is a series of three different episodes that is all about what happens when you try to quit drinking by using rehab and AA and 12 step, and how that is such a flawed system in how our brain works and how we can actually use the tools that we have to make our brain feel happier, stronger, more committed, and doing it in a way that really works. I've been doing this work for 25 years, and I started doing the addiction work 20 years ago, and the results are really stunning. And if you watched part one, you have the whole story of how that works and how different it is with going to rehab and the things that they teach you and the things they tell you. So if you haven't watched part one, go back and watch part one. Now, as a nice special surprise, part two did not record properly, so we are doing it over. This is a redo of part two, so there aren't any audience questions and there's not a Q&A after, but I'm going to reconstruct what we did in day two. Yay. All right. One of the things that was very stunning to me was in a workshop where I was teaching hypnotherapists to use this with their clients. They were going through an entire training that was multi-day. On this one of the days, I decided to do an experiment with them. And I asked everybody to look at the board where we had written down on the board two different columns. And on one column, I asked them, what are the beliefs of AA and 12 step that they teach you? And so people said, oh, powerless. Yeah, okay. You have a disease and you're going to have this disease forever. And it's a disease that's going to kill you. That relapse is part of recovery, that you have to go to 90 meetings in 90 days. You have to make amends to everyone you have harmed. And that list is probably really long. So you take all of these aspects of what you're supposed to do, and then you are supposed to somehow have the ability to make a commitment and be positive and make this work. Now, if you look at the alcohol freedom program that I created, in this one, you are powerful. You have three key words that we create beliefs and identity around, and those are strong. And the word strong means that you have inner strength, that you know you have what it takes to be able to do this, that you have a sense of pride, and that you have integrity in what you're doing and saying. The next one is healthy. And when you feel healthy, you are physically healthy and you're mentally healthy, and you don't have all this inner conflict and self-loathing and anger, but you feel really physically and mentally healthy. And the other one is in control. Now, when we talked about doing the future timeline yesterday, the phrase in control means that you have the ability to be able to trust yourself, to know that you've got this, and to just feel really sturdy about who you are and why you are choosing to not have alcohol in your life. So now we have these beliefs and your identity is of a person who is healthy and strong and in control. And all of the things that we set up in your future timeline that reinforced what it feels like for you to be strong and healthy and in control are really very opposite of what is happening in AA 12-step treatment. So when we look at the AA and 12-step treatment, we look at the things that make you feel weak, susceptible, afraid, that you're going to be triggered. Oh, another thing is you're supposed to stay away from normies and people who drink. And I was at a gathering about a week ago in someone's house, and we were told that nobody can bring any alcohol because the person who was hosting it quit through AA, and so he's not supposed to have anybody around him that could possibly have alcohol or see alcohol or anything. And that is a really strong belief of AA. So the experiment I did, it was so cool, kind of sad, but pretty cool. I had someone take a roll of duct tape and tape it to the floor. And I said, run that duct tape all the way across the middle of the room. So we're dividing the room into this side and that side. And then I had the entire group go stand on the left side of the room. I asked them to close their eyes, take a deep breath and relax. And then I said, I want you to do an experiment. Let your mind know that this is just an experiment and that it's okay to feel all these things as I say them. You are imagining that you're someone who has struggled with alcohol for many years. You have failed repeatedly, and you have been going to your AA meetings every day. You know you need to go to 90 meetings in 90 days. So every day you get to listen to the sad stories, the failure that other people have, the ability to compare yourself in those sad stories, and listen to people go into great detail about how hard it's been. You might have heard someone say that they've been sober for 5 years and that they're still struggling every day. You know that you have to choose to be powerless to alcohol. And being powerless has a feeling for you of perhaps weakness. You have a disease, and this disease will be with you forever. It's a brain disease, it's a body disease, it's hereditary, it's genetic. You're powerless. You know that relapse is part of recovery, and that the chances are that you're going to relapse, as so many people do. And when you relapse, you have to start over from step one. You need to go make amends with all the people that you have harmed or hurt. You are going to have to revisit all of those scenarios and all the guilt and all the things that you did and reinvigorate them in your mind. Now, all of the people standing on that side of the room are now embodying those feelings. And I ask them, keep your eyes closed and raise your hand and tell me from a scale of 1 to 5 by raising your fingers, how sure you are that you can quit drinking in this imagination scenario. So they would put their hands up and we get 1 finger, 2 fingers, or 0. Now, the next thing I did is I said, stay right where you are and don't say a word, put your hand down. I want you to open your eyes and look around. Don't do anything else except look at the different people around you. Don't make any expressions or say anything. So they open their eyes and they're looking at each other, and the faces are so sad. I mean, it's like physically, their faces have changed to these kind of visions of sadness and anger or confusion or hopelessness. And so we're all just looking around at these faces. And then I say, okay, now close your eyes. We're going to shake this off. Shake your body hard. And do this is physical, shaking it up. Shake it, shake it, shake it. And take a deep breath. And now I want you to jump over the tape, that line that divided the room in half. Jump over that tape to the other side. Shake it off some more. All right, now take a deep breath and close your eyes. And everybody is standing up now on the other side of the room. This side is the freedom side of the room. And in this scenario, you're going to let your mind imagine something different. On this side of the room, you have been drinking for many years. You've had trouble quitting, and it's been a really difficult journey for you. You've been to AA many times, but now it's different. You have freedom from alcohol. You no longer struggle. And when you decided to quit drinking, it felt easy. You are feeling powerful. Notice how that feels in your body. You are feeling in control. You are feeling strong. You have a strong character, a strong sense of commitment. You have strength in your mental health and in your body. You're in control. You know you can trust yourself. And you realize that alcohol is just not a thing. It's something that happened in the past, and it's not a thing now. Who you are now is a person who is healthy. You eat nutritious foods. You feel really good. Done some work on forgiving yourself for what you did in the past and letting it go. And you do feel that sense of deep commitment and strength. Now I want everybody standing there to raise your hand and put 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 fingers up of how certain you are that you can quit drinking. So now everybody's got a 4 or a 5. And I said, without moving or making any sound or saying anything, just open your eyes and look at the faces around you. And everybody did, and they looked at all the faces, and it's like those faces had physically changed. The first time I did this experiment, I was stunned. Their faces, it's like the muscles in their faces had moved, and they were more like perky and happy, even though people weren't smiling. It was just such a different look on all their faces. And my participants were rather stunned as well, in a good way. Now, we look at how things are anchored into your reality, especially when you consider that the things that you're made to believe about quitting drinking are just hammered in with so much repetition and with so many sad stories. So now we have this piece of duct tape across the middle of the floor, and I asked everybody to bring all the chairs back, to set the chairs up so we can continue. And I asked someone to pull the tape off of the floor. When they were wanting to set up the chairs, no one wanted to sit on that side of the room where we had done the 12-step beliefs and principles. They did not want their body to be on that side of the room. Because when you go anchor these things and describe them and you feel them, we also are having a trigger, which is that side of the room. And that's all it was. It's just a floor, but it's an experiment showing you how deeply anchored these feelings of powerlessness, having a disease that you'll never get over, that relapse is part of recovery, that you have to do all these amends and sad stories for 90 days and on and on. Oh my gosh. So all the chairs ended up on the right side of the room. It was quite interesting. I've done this experiment a few times in the trainings, and it just is such solid proof that we're getting it all wrong. We're doing it in a way that is not how the brain works. So we know the way the brain works. Hypnotherapists all over the world are doing brilliant work and innovating all kinds of things that, you know, that we didn't have 20 years ago, 30 years ago. When I got into hypnotherapy 25 years ago, it was still, and excuse me for saying this, it was a funny old man profession. You know, it was like the cartoon of the old fat man swinging a watch. And I went to a conference that was really about the only organization back then that I knew about. And it was largely a bunch of funny old men, not a lot of women, and not a lot of people that were under 50 years old. And I was about 30 at the time. But I really felt out of my element because these are not my people. And I don't think the way that they think. And here they are. A lot of them smoke cigarettes. A lot of them are very fat. A lot of them have horrible habits, and they've been hypnotists for many years. And that's always perplexed me. So as the years continued with my training, I'm getting to go do training in London and in Italy, and oh gosh. So what I noticed was that there were a lot more young people that were coming into the profession, people in their 30s or 40s, or even now there's a lot of people that are in their 20s that are in this profession, and they want to learn from people who are experts. So now we have conferences that are full of really like useful minds and people who are innovating and working together to share the knowledge to accelerate the profession of hypnotherapy. And it is very different from when I started. But the thing that really got me was, as I told you in the day one program, that my son going to all these rehabs, and he went to 5 of them, that it seemed like, why are we doing the same thing over and over and over, expecting different results? And I'm sure you've heard that statement is about what the definition of insanity is. When you do something, you do the same thing over and over and expect different results. Now, somebody said that's insanity. So it is, it's insanity. And then this woman wrote a book after visiting, I think, 80 or 90 different rehabs all over the country. That is the truth about rehab. And she came up with the same results that I experienced in those 5 rehabs. And it is the same thing. You give them a lot of money, they have a very low success rate, as you heard me say, 5 to 7%, which was admitted by the director of a really big rehab in Southern California. Like normally they have a limit of 6 or 8 people at a time that they're allowed to have in a residential rehab. But this one had people housed in apartments right around the rehab. So they still walked to the center to do the work every day. But since they were housed in individual apartments, then the limit didn't apply. So they had almost 100 people that paid $33,000 each. Do the math. The director, and if you didn't hear me tell this story, or if you did, whatever, you're going to hear it again. Okay, so the director asked me to come and meet with him in his office. And he said, I know you're a hypnotherapist. I know your son's here. You know, he just started a few days ago. And we want to improve our success rate. So our success rate is only about 5 to 7%. And I was like, what? I just wrote you a check for $33,000. I didn't tell him that part, but I was like, oh no. Said, we'd like to improve that. And I said, well, hypnotherapy is a great way to improve your success rate. And I told him about the program that I had created for the alcohol freedom. And it was kind of more in its infancy back then, but it was still really starting to help a lot of people. So I told him I would do a session with some of his participants, and he got me about 20 of the people that I did a session, 30 minutes about, and it was going into the future at 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, and having them imagine that the drug use and the alcohol use, it was so far in the past and it was so long ago, it's just not a thing anymore. It really doesn't matter at all. It's something that you used to do, but now you realize what it feels like to be strong and healthy and in control. And then I anchored all the elements of strong, healthy, and in control into that future. And I had them doing something that really mattered and something they really loved and finding something that gave them purpose. And so this went on for 30 minutes, had them come back from that future moment to the present moment, bringing back with you the strong, the healthy, the in control, and everything it means. And how you know that you're committed and that the drug and alcohol use was so far in the past, it just isn't a thing in your life anymore. So there's a little more to it than that, but they were really excited. They felt really good. And so the next day, Ryan had me come back into his office and he said, wow, what did you do to those people? And I was like, oh, no, it was good. He said that everybody's talking about that session you did. They really, really loved it. And I was very excited. So now he had me go talk to the board of directors in a meeting that they called to have me present my song and my dance. And when I presented it to them, I think there were about 8 people on the board of directors, including one who was the staff psychiatrist. Key to this story. I helped them understand what I had done and why people felt so good, and the work, how it was helping people who felt like nothing would work, that have failed and failed and failed, and what it would do to stop the failure, increase their success rate, and so on. Everybody liked it except for one person. And that one person was the psychiatrist. And, psychiatrists come from a very different set of beliefs. And some of them are into hypnotherapy and they use hypnotherapy in their business. But this psychiatrist in particular, he met with me in person later. He goes on motorcycle. He met with me in person and he just did not like my shtick. He said, this is what he, like, because I'm a lay person, technically, well, all hypnotherapists are lay people. And I don't have a bunch of degrees and stuff. He just did not want any part of it. And so that was the end of that. And my point is that even if we are doing things that can be innovative and more successful and more get better results, be more powerful, there is still a part of this rehab industry that is so stuck in one mindset that AA is the only way and 12-step is the only way. And the book that Bill W. wrote, awesome, in 1935. In 1935, we didn't have any brain science of how the brain works. We didn't know or understand how to change the triggers or how to implant new beliefs about ourselves that make us the person we want to be. We didn't know how to do work for forgiving yourself or forgiving others. But they did write a book that helped a lot of people in 1935. That is a long time ago. And look how far we've come with what we know about how to change habits and issues and even illness and addictions. And the amount of people that I have helped with hypnotherapy and with addictions is pretty phenomenal. People tell me that I have saved a lot of lives. You totally saved my life, or you saved my husband's life, or oh my gosh, like the story about Ken and becoming a triathlete because he was only a fat slob drunk. And he said, he told all his friends, he told everybody, I'm just a fat slob drunk. That's all I am. I think he was in his 40s, like 45 or something, 45. And that's all I've ever been. So he was pretty convinced that he would fail at my program because that was all he had to base it on. He never succeeded at quitting drinking. And he said, I drink over a case of beer every day. So anyway, he listened to the program. He quit drinking, no problem. Like usually day 3 or 4 of it, you're kind of like, I guess I'm done. And you just kind of quit. And then in his future timeline, he saw himself as an athlete at 1 year in the future. And he told me, he said, Wendy, that's ridiculous. I'm not an athlete. I've never been an athlete. I don't do anything except sit on the couch and drink beer. That's like all I do. So that vision that he had, it just was so compelling for him that he started working out and he became an Ironman triathlete, and he travels all over the world still doing Ironman competitions, and he's qualified for the Kona Ironman and been here a couple times to do that. And it's just fascinating to me that someone who is not even remotely in the mindset of being an athlete, who never has been, who has no desire to, not only quit drinking easily, but for over a decade or 15 years or so, he's out traveling all over the world being an Ironman, which is really, really hard to do. They swim over 2 miles, then they bicycle like 100 miles up a mountain. And then just to have a little more fun, they run a marathon. Oh boy. So he also told me that about a month after he had quit drinking, he opened his fridge and he noticed there was a 6-pack of beer in there. And he said, that's really weird. I didn't know that was in there. I mean, I could see it, but somehow my mind didn't even notice it. It didn't create any thoughts or feelings, and they didn't even see it. This is interesting. When you consider that people in 12-step are taught to not be around normies, which are people that drink, and not be anywhere around a bar or to just all the things you have to remove from your life. When in fact, it is possible in Ken's case and in other people's experiences that you can teach the brain to simply forget about it, to let it go instead of struggling with it. Like one of my clients said that her husband quit drinking with my program. And now when they have friends over for dinner parties or wine parties, her husband pours all the drinks. He's a bartender and he doesn't drink. He just doesn't want to. In fact, the act of being that confident and pouring those drinks for others keeps reinforcing for him that he loves being healthy and strong and in control. He's no longer an alcoholic. So you think about the identity that we create by saying that I'm an alcoholic. Ooh, over and over and over, as they do in 12 steps. All right, I want to tell you about something that is very good today. And that is that the Alcohol Freedom Program is $50 off right now. The code is, let's see, I got it wrong last time when I was saying it. It is live 50. That is the code to get $50 off. Live 50, live 50. And you're going to get that in wendy.com, WENDI.com. And if you know someone who is struggling with drugs or alcohol, if they're considering going to rehab, maybe you want to save them some money and give this to them as a gift. You can do that. So you would go and buy it and then send an email to wendyhelp@gmail.com and tell us who you want to gift it to, and we'll set it up for them and send them a nice letter. You can do it anonymously if you want, so they don't even have to know that you bought it for them. Also, Wake Up Happy is on sale right now. The code is day 2 live, all one word, day and number 2 and the word live. No spaces in there. 30% off for Wake Up Happy. Here's why you should get Wake Up Happy and use it every morning. There's 8 different sessions in it. And also these Wake Up Happy sessions are in the Alcohol Freedom Program. Every morning you're waking up with a session that starts your day in a really specific way, where white knuckling it every morning, you're going, oh no, another day, can't drink. Oh, this is going to be so hard. Instead, you're waking up with this thing that gives you power, and it gives you this sense of freedom, and it sets you up for having that, that confidence and strong, healthy, and in control. All right, so Wake Up Happy is 30% off. It is not about alcohol or drugs. It is, each session is a different topic. So you can wake up worthy of wealth, for instance. That's the one you put on, and it's only 15 minutes long, and it starts waking you up, and it's me saying, good morning. And then it has you going out into the world, being worthy of wealth and creative and finding opportunities and creating abundance and all that stuff. Or you might want to have one that's about finding love, and you wake up really slowly, and it's about being open to love and all the things in your day that are going to be just filled with love and gratitude. And so remember, there's 8 different topics. It is a good thing to have first thing in the morning. People love Wake Up Happy. Again, day 2 live. You can find Wake Up Happy at wendy.com, of course. And what else do I need to all right, just looking at my notes for a second, since we're doing a redo for today. So, do you remember the story? The first story I told you yesterday, or on day 1, was about the first rehab my son went to. And the man who got up to speak at the first meeting that was in the rehab was a professional speaker, and he is paid to travel around to rehabs to speak to people. You would imagine that if you are in this position, being a speaker, you would want to motivate and inspire people, give them tools to make them feel confident that they are going to do really well in the next 28 days in this rehab. And remember, and if you don't remember the story, I'm going to just run it by you again. The man gets up in front of everybody and says, hi, I'm George, and I'm an alcoholic. And everybody, of course, says, hi, George. So George is standing there and says, I got to tell you, I have been sober for 20 years. And I've got to tell you that even now, after 20 years, I'm still white knuckling it every day, just hoping to make it to midnight. I am sitting in the back of the room, and I do know that what he just did was to pace them into the future, imagining going into the future, struggling every day, white knuckling it, giving it some kinetic or kinesthetic feeling, and saying, I'm still hoping to make it till midnight. Very, very dangerous stuff to say to people who are hoping, clinging to something that is positive. And then he glorified alcohol and said, I remember the days when I was a drinker, and you'd be taking a flight somewhere, and the stewardess's cart is rolling down the aisle, and they have those little bottles of alcohol. And he got really happy when he started saying that. I would steal like 10 of them or 15 of them, and I could just get roaring drunk. It was so great. It was like, they're free for me. if I just sneak them off the cart. And he made it sound really happy. And just think about what he's doing. He's then using, not meaning to use hypnosis, but he's using suggestions and imagery and making it happy and sounds of giggling and laughing to make it a really positive thing. So here are the brains of all these people that are associating quitting with extreme pain and struggling and white knuckling it, and then associating the joy and the happiness and the laughter and the sneaky guy and get all the bottles. And this place, I thought this first rehab was going to be it. They were going to heal my son. 28 days later, I'd have him back and he'd be in really good shape. Didn't quite work. Oh, and then when they were leaving that rehab, there were several of the men who were going to be leaving in the next few days. So the director tells them all, now remember, in 30 days, only 1 in 12 of you will still be clean and sober. Oh my goodness. Yeah, Sean was shocked when he heard that. He was just stunned. Now, why would they tell us that? It's like they're doing everything they can to get you to relapse as fast as possible. Now, there is a lot of really bad things that are going on business-wise in these rehabs. A lot of them know it's just a revolving door. And even though you might not come back to their rehab, you're going to go to another one, and people are going to come to your rehab thinking you're the one that can help them since they failed at several others. But there's a lot of them that are not created to help you get better. They're created to make you give them a check for around $25,000 to $30,000. Some of them cost more than that. You can go ride a horse at some of them. They're still just not using the principles. There are some good rehabs. There are some that are using principles similar to what I'm doing in my work. And there are some that have very high prices and actually do some good. There's one in Malibu called Passages, and Passages is $80,000. Some people have told me it's closer to 100,000 now, but then there's some extras you have to pay for that bring the price up even more. And that's for 1 month, but it's really cool. They feed you healthy, nutritious foods. You get supplements to help your brain repair itself. You get massages to reduce the stress, and oh my gosh, and lots of meditation and mindfulness work and 12 hypnotherapists. So everybody gets private hypnotherapy sessions. Now, their hypnotherapists were not trained by me, and they didn't have any protocol for what they're supposed to do. And I'm sure they're very good and they did a great job. But several of them came to me to have my training so that they would have better tools to use with the clients that are there at Passages. So I was pretty happy about that. So there's some good rehabs out there. But what if you don't need to spend 25,000, 30,000, 50,000, 80 or 100,000? What if you can use a program that does it all for you, even if you're not sure that you will succeed and you don't feel confident that you can do it on your own? Trust me, hundreds of thousands of people have used this and they have found something that just clicked for them, that they didn't have to go through the pain and the suffering and the uncertainty. Right from the beginning, we start off with helping you to make that decision. So I know a lot of the questions that people have had during this series are like, what if I want to keep drinking a little bit? Or what if I don't think I'm ready and I don't feel like I'm, confident enough to quit? It's not that you have to do that before you can start the program. I'm going to help you do that. So the very first session is called a split timeline. And on this split timeline, you or your client will be standing. Of course, you're relaxed and you're in trance and your eyes are closed and you're on your nice recliner or lying down in your bed, wherever you are. And you're going to be on this path that is going into your future, but you don't go very far on it. You get to a point where the path splits to the left and to the right. And at that moment, I say, okay, just stand there for a moment where that path splits. There's a path to the left, which is doing the same thing that you're doing now, living your life in the same way with the same feelings. And the path on the right is a path of freedom, that something did change for you when you step on that path on the right and you realize it, you feel it, what it's like to have that freedom. So right now, go down that path to the left, which is your life as it is right now, with some of the regrets and the feelings of knowing that you don't have what it takes and that you're going to have to try again because people really are just fed up with watching you struggle. And just notice all those feelings of what it means about you and how sad it has been. And notice on that path to the left, the people who care about you and the looks in their faces, and they're kind of tired of it. Now I want you just to float up out of that path on the left and come all the way back to the point where the two paths split apart. Now let go of the feelings of the path on the left. And on the path to the right, there is a feeling of freedom. And you're going to take that step onto that path to the right now. Some things changed. Now you have freedom to just not drink. It's not a thing in your life. You've repaired some relationships and you've helped those who love you understand where you're coming from now, that you are proud of yourself and that you are thinking really clearly. Your sense of commitment is really strong. It just feels so good to have left that in the past. It's not something you struggle with anymore. You don't have a disease. You're healthy. You're strong. You're in control. You remember it was very easy for you just to let go of alcohol and to be able to be the person that you do want to be. You have some things that matter to you in your life, things you're passionate about and things you really love to do. Now float up out of that moment, float all the way back to where the two paths split. Now notice that you do have a choice and you can continue to live your life the way that you were on that path to the left. Or you can allow yourself to make a really powerful change and choose the path on the right. So when I count to 3, you're going to make that choice and you're going to walk down that path that you choose. Ready? 1, 2, 3. And then they choose a path. Now, I'm always hoping it's the path on the right. Nobody's ever chose a path on the left. So when they are going down that path, I'm now describing, and in the session, the recorded session that you'll do if you get the alcohol freedom, when you get the alcohol freedom program, when you're on that path on the right, there are things you're feeling about your life and things you're looking forward to, and that feeling of dread you used to have in the past every day, now you're waking up every morning feeling good and knowing that it's just not a thing. It doesn't have any effect on you anymore. You can see people drinking and it makes you feel stronger and more powerful. You can be around alcohol, like you see your bar that you used to go to, or you're sitting with some friends at dinner and they're having wine and you don't. You like your sparkling water with a little squeeze of lime in it. You love a cup of hot tea. It soothes you. You love the feeling of fresh, clean water as you drink it and just feel it cleansing your body and your mind. So that is the path that most people choose. Now, I don't want to totally make you decide that you have to choose that path. You want to have the experience of that session with being fully in it, completely immersed in what's on that path to the left and what's on the one to the right. Now, after you do that, the decision will be made for you. And it's not like you have to decide, oh, I have to do this. You're going to be like, wow, cool, I know what I want now. And that is the feeling I want. And that's how I want my life to be lived. If you're struggling with alcohol right now, or someone you love is, you know how hard it is for them to have anything in their life that produces any endorphins or dopamine. Like the alcohol has just depleted so much of their ability to find happiness in other areas of their life. And all it is a really negative struggle, and all the pain and the shame and the guilt and the self-loathing. It's a difficult place to live. Yeah. Oh, and have to hide it. Hope that no one will find all the bottles. And, one of my clients that I worked with by phone, we did coaching calls. And this is one of the ways you can work with me if you want to. We do coaching calls for 10 days every day for about 15 to 20 minutes. You use the sessions in the program that are recorded. And then I talk to you about what you experienced in the sessions every day. And you can tell me honestly what you're going through and have someone who really, really cares about you having a good experience. And then some other things that come up with that are not related to the alcohol, like if you have a problem with something else, habits, phobias, an event in your past that's causing some problems, we can work on that, and I can give you recorded sessions to help with those things. But anyway, so a client I was working with doing the coaching every day, she was hiding it from her husband, and he didn't know. Hard to imagine that he didn't know, but I guess he didn't. And she said she drinks 20 or 25 shots of vodka at like before noon or something. It was an amazing amount. And you can get to that amount, that you can drink that much without dying from it. But anyway, she did quit. She did after about the third day. She had to like kind of gradually withdraw from it. And I'll talk about that later. But she did. And then third or fourth day, she just quit. So I just didn't drink. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. From drinking that much to letting it go. And it was a wonderful experience with her. And everyone I've done the coaching calls with, it's such a beautiful thing. Every day when I talk to people that are, they were afraid, they thought they didn't have what it takes, and they were so sure that it was going to be really hard, and it's not. And I just feel so good to be able to give this to people. And you have a choice to give it to people that you know who are struggling with alcohol. There's also one that is for drugs. So you can, if you need to do the one for drugs for somebody, we can do that as well. It's $50 off right now. And the code is LIVE50. So go to wendy.com, WENDI.com, and you can get that. If you want to give it to someone else anonymously, or even from you, which would be nice. It's a really gentle way to give them an opportunity to maybe make decisions on their own to quit. It's a self-guided program, and they can access it all online. Now, remember, Wake Up Happy is 30% off. The code for that is Day 2 Live. Day number 2 Live, all in one word. That's a coupon code that gets you 30% off. Well, what else should we talk about? I think that's about it. I really am looking forward to you having all 3 of these sessions. So there's 3 in them. Make sure if you didn't do day 1 yet, go back and do day 1 so you can get the foundation of what the program is all about. And then day 3, go grab that one as well, because we will be going through the entire workbook. In fact, I'll give you a quick overview right here. I'll share my screen and I'll show you what we are doing here. Hang on. Share my screen. This one right here. Oh, wait. All right, hang in there, kids. I'm coming back. All right. This is what you see in the course, is all the pages of this manual. On the front, it says there's a difference between knowing the path and walking the path. People in AA know the path. And even if they know what they're supposed to do, they're doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. All right, so there's an explanation of what this program is all about. And again, if you're giving this to someone as a gift, when they start reading the workbook, they're going to be like, whoa, this sounds really good. This is about 12-step and why it's not working for you and how you create a permanent change. On this page, it's desire, what you really want. And when you do the writing, it's really valuable and it helps you to really cement things in. And I think that the writing is just such a big part of this. Here is a place that has letter to myself. This is after the future timeline process and the fork in the road. And then, of course, it says tonight, do the infusion session, which is really nice. Tomorrow morning, you wake up happy to the session. And then in the journal, you write this letter to yourself, it says. So it tells them exactly what to do in each section. Desire, why do you want this? And it says, like, this really is going to resonate with you if you are, struggling with drinking or the person that you would give it to. Why do you want this? Up until now, you are trying to change your life based on what you don't want. It says, make sense? You don't want to drink. You don't want to go back to jail. You don't want to steal. You don't want your family to hate you. You don't want to make another big drug deal. You don't want to die. You don't want to be homeless. Your brain doesn't care which thought you choose. Your brain gets busy building massive neural networks based on the thoughts you feed it. And it will strengthen the response to create that feeling, that reaction, and emotional state. Make more sense? So here is an experiment. On the left side, it's about saying, I don't want to be an alcoholic. On the right side, it said, I want to be strong, healthy, and in control and powerful. So each part of this book, it just slowly takes you through all the elements that are needed to build your massive commitment without willpower and without having to struggle. So here we're only on section 2, which is the belief. What is really true? Are you an addict for life? And there's an explanation. Is addiction an incurable disease? Is relapse part of recovery? So here's a little bit that I wrote that kind of solidifies it. Imagine that you're trying to learn to ride a bike. And to accomplish this, you're taught to believe that you are powerless to ride the bike. Ooh. Falling, even years from now, is expected. No matter how well you learn to ride, you should always be afraid of falling. And that is absurd, but it is exactly what's going on in 12-step AA. We're going to get you to learn to be, you're an alcoholic for life, of course, but we're going to teach you how to quit drinking. And in order to do that, we're going to explain to you that relapse is part of recovery. And you're probably going to fall down and drink. And you're an alcoholic for life. And no matter how well you do with getting rid of alcohol in your life, you are still to be afraid of relapsing. So change your beliefs about addiction. And then there's some writing that you do there. And a pretty picture of some loving words. So anyway, you can see that, oh my gosh, all of this in here is just so many things that help get them to understand what they're doing to change it and have really positive experiences. So there's a bit to it. So anyway, if you want to hire me to be your daily accountability coach, you can do that. If you want to come to Hawaii and spend 4 days with me to do a 4-day intensive in person, you can do that as well. And we'll go through the whole program. So those are some options, or get it for a friend. I'm going to let you go. Be sure you watch day 3. And if you're ready to do the awesome thing of being strong, powerful, and in control, do it. $50 off. Live 50, Live 50 is the code to take $50 off. And I just love this book. It's so cool. And then, this section, thoughts or things. This is really important. I know I was just signing off, but this is about your self-talk and the things that you tell yourself every day that either help or hurt you. And it's just so important to really catch the self-talk and keep it in place. And then there's a swish session, which is really awesome. I would love for you to experience that swish session, because that just it takes all the negativity and all the fears and all the experiences that you had about quitting drinking and replaces them with all the things you do want and the way your brain stores that information. So good times. Let me stop the screen share. I want you to know how grateful I am for you and what you're experiencing, and that you are here watching and listening. Also grateful for anyone that you're going to help by giving them a gift of this so they can have a sober December and January and February, March, April, and start their life in a way that they really want to live it. All right. Thank you for being here. Blessings to you. And I will be over there in day 3. Bye-bye.